It is a brand new episode of Flyers Daily here on the Flyers Broadcast Network for Friday, April the 11th. Flyers Daily, as always, is brought to you by Ticketmaster. Make more memories live. I'm Brian Smith in today for Jason Myrtetus, who has gone through now round number 7 now here in his treatment. 7 of 8, so just one left, but he is conserving his energy today. So send him a shout out if you've been keeping track of his journey here over the past couple of months. I'm sure he'd love to hear from everybody as he keeps us up to date on everything going on with him. But he'll be back with us hopefully on Monday for Mondays with Meltzer as the Flyers again here get ready to embark on the final week of the 2024-2025 season. Hard to believe it's already winding down here, but just 4 games left starting tomorrow. A matinee affair against the New York Islanders, 12:30 at Wells Fargo Center, and from there on out, it's 4 and 6 really to wrap things up here for the Flyers. They are headed to Ottawa after tomorrow's game, and they've got the Ottawa Senators up north of the border on Sunday afternoon. Come back home for the home finale on Tuesday night against the Columbus Blue Jackets, and then they'll wrap up the season next Thursday in Buffalo against the Sabres. So the Flyers again coming down the stretch here and looking to finish strong, of course, coming off that big win in New York the other night, one that might have been the final blow to the Rangers' playoff hopes, and Flyers fans of all ages will like to see that. It's again, the goal here for this team is to finish the season strong and give themselves some momentum headed into the offseason. The draft pick will fall where it falls. Not really a big concern about for this group here, as the Flyers are poised for a big summer, and that's going to be a little bit about what we talk about today. Here is not so much who the Flyers might go out and get, but who they already have, and that's a big thing right now for this team. They have a lot of folks coming beyond what's on the NHL roster, and the big hot name right now over the last week or so has been that of Alex Bump from Western Michigan University. Quickly going to surpass Keith Jones perhaps as their greatest player. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But no, he's having a heck of a senior year. And actually, it's not his senior year, but it's his second year. His journey has been a little bit convoluted to get to where he is at, but he's playing his second year with Western Michigan right now and appears to be poised maybe for an exit to the pro game after this year, because he has had a fantastic campaign for Western Michigan University, and he's now led them to the national championship as they took a double overtime win over the University of Denver yesterday, and just an epic Frozen Four semifinal. As for Western Michigan, it's their first trip ever just to the Frozen Four, not to mention the national championship game. So they are going to be playing for that tomorrow night, and Alex Bump has been a big part of it. I did an episode of Prospect Pipeline yesterday and talked with Bill Meltzer about Alex Bump and some of the intangibles that his journey has had, and I'll let you listen into a little clip of that here on Flyers Daily.
Yeah, Alex Bump is a good example of how every player is going to develop at his own pace on his own timeline. He's coming along really nicely, but this is a great example of why an intermediate kind of step like the USHL can really be beneficial to a player. That little bit of time the extra year that he spent in the USHL were huge for his development. He's still really young, still just 21, but this player who's really come on in all aspects of his game, was really one of the best players nationwide across college hockey this year. Very complete player. There's adds element of size as well as skill to a lineup. A lot of versatility that he can offer a professional team. I mean, he looks to be ready to at least move up when his collegiate season is over. Remember last year, a year ago, when Denver won the national championship, we were kind of watching Massimo Rizzo playing on Denver. This elevated several more levels because Bump is a more highly touted prospect at this point. I think that it'll be really interesting to see how he fares against the defending national champions, to see how they go about attacking him, and also the fact that while one is a collegiate program and one's obviously a professional hockey team, the model that Western Michigan's had, this is a very deep hockey team. So if they kind of pool all of their resources on trying to slow down Bump and his line, then there are other guys on Western Michigan that can burn the team. The Broncos are a good hockey team, but there's always you got to go through the champs in this case, and that's sometimes a lot easier said than done. So I'm really looking forward to both of the two semifinal games, and then of course there's the Penn State angle too. So I think this year's Frozen Four more than the average year. There's a lot for Flyers fans to watch.
Yeah, just to bring folks in on the season here for Alex Bump. Again, his second year at Western, ended up, and I call this Western because I worked in Kalamazoo for 2 years, and it's what you call it there. You call it Western. But second year at Western Michigan, 23 goals, 24 assists, 47 points. And again, you talked a little bit about developing at his own pace and how things kind of go differently for a lot of players. He kind of followed a Bobby Brink type path to where he is now.
Yes.
Not that he is not that he's a similar player to Brink in any way, but just the path that he followed, because he comes out of Minnesota, where you can play just ordinary high school hockey, and from there, again, eventually get to the NHL. I think it might be the only state in the country where you can do that. He was a product of Prior Lake High School, where he had an 83-point season in just 31 games in 2021-2022, which of course is coming out of the pandemic. This is a guy that perhaps maybe one of the first now who, in terms of the development path that you see most NHL players take, pretty much took it entirely on the other side of the pandemic. The hockey for him that was interrupted by that stoppage would have been like his 16U AAA hockey. It would have been his youth hockey that was interrupted, whereas for the past 5 years, we've been talking about guys coming through juniors and college and all that and having their process interrupted there. He comes from a time before that. So that's a little bit of an interesting look in terms of where we're going now. But, he also at one point was going to go to Vermont, I believe, was it not? And
Correct.
He had committed there, ended up decommitting, and like you said, goes back to the USHL, refines his game a little bit, and then takes another path. So it has been kind of interesting to watch what he's been doing here over these past few years, and now after slow cooking, if you will, for a couple of years, he seems ready to make that pro jump.
And he took the challenge the right way, because when the Flyers got him in the 5th round, there was actually a bit of a doubt. Wait, he's still on the board here, because really the Flyers had him projected a couple of rounds higher than that. He could have easily have gone in the top 3 rounds. And this is a case where it just takes one guy, higher on somebody's list and then somebody starts falling in the draft. Other names get called, and there he is. He's still on the board. So it was a kind of a perfect storm. Actually a little bit in that way, like Noah Cates too. Another guy was taken in the 5th round out of high school hockey. Another guy they thought, well,
in Minnesota, yep.
In Minnesota, and who they thought, boy, this is somebody who could have gone a couple of rounds earlier in the draft. So had a little bit of took it as a little bit of a challenge in a good way, right? Took it as an opportunity to feel like I can show that I can improve to a level where people are going to wonder, well, how was this kid available in the 5th round? And that's really kind of the development path he's taken. And he's been at the last few Flyers development camps, and he's turned heads every year. So I don't want to overhype him, or really any prospect, because we'll see what he does once he hits
Sure.
the pro level. But I can say that the organization, if you talk about prospects in the system, he's one of the first names that comes up. And it was even before his big year this season, even coming into this year, we think he's going to be a National Hockey League player and probably on the Sooner side. So that he's done nothing to change that perception. That he's a guy who's going to be an NHL player and probably a type who you could plug in the middle of a lineup and not look out of place too at an NHL level. So this is a guy who after his college season is over, really there's a lot of exciting things ahead for him. And I said, even though a year ago Rizzo was one of the top scorers nationwide point wise, this is a case where there's a belief that you're looking at a player who's going to fast track and play his first NHL game probably sooner rather than later.
So that's a little summary of Alex Bump and what he has been doing here over the past several years, as he now again will play for a national championship with Western Michigan University on Saturday nights. And after that, we'll see what happens. It could be with the Lehigh Valley Phantoms, could be with the Flyers next year, could earn a spot. Who knows? Probably not likely. A lot of these guys really can use some seasoning in the American Hockey League when they come out of college, and Alex Bump will be no exception to that. But he's just one of many pieces the Flyers have coming down the pipeline here in one way or another. And, again, this is going to be a summer where they go out and start building this roster up. They're going to be looking to add some talent around what they already have on the NHL roster. But they have quite a few pieces in-house already that are going to make that process probably a little bit easier. And you're looking at guys that are going to fill different needs within the organization. There might be some places where they have a couple too many guys, and they might be able to make some moves there to add some depth to other parts of the organization. But we just want to take a look at what the Flyers have coming already inside the organization. And Alex Bump is certainly one of those guys, as he has had just a fantastic season so far for Western Michigan University, and they're certainly going to hope that it ends with a victory in that championship game. But a 47-point year in 41 games for Western Michigan, 23 goals, 24 assists for Alex Bump, as wearing an A as an alternate captain, and really has had a great rise through the amateur game here over the past couple of years. But again, some other folks that are already here, and just starting with some of the guys that are down in Lehigh Valley right now, helping the Phantoms as they get ready for a playoff run. One of them is Jet Luchenko, and of course, most of you know who he is. He started the season with the Flyers. He is the youngest player ever to appear in a Flyers game for the club. He was first-round pick this past summer and got to training camp and just did not look out of place. Just looked like he was already ready to go, and did start the season with the big club. Flyers did end up sending him back to the Ontario Hockey League, where he played with Guelph this year. And, again, for him, it was an opportunity to just kind of go down there and really hone his game. The Storm, unfortunately, did not have that great of a season. But when you're in that situation, sometimes you learn a lot about playing the game in different ways than you do when you're on a team that's just dominant. But he goes down to the Gulf Storm. He has a really solid year for them, 56 points in 46 games, 21 goals, 35 assists. He matched his goal scoring total from last year that he hit in 68 games. He had 20 goals in 68 games in his draft year, and had 21 goals in 46 games this past year. So he had a great run there, and is now in Lehigh Valley helping the Phantoms again get ready for that playoff push. So he's getting some really valuable experience playing against grown men in a playoff setting, and no doubt that's going to help him as he prepares hopefully for him to stick with the Flyers next year. We'll see where it goes. Still too young to be a full-time American Hockey League player. So next year it would be either the Flyers roster or going back to junior. We'll see where that goes. But, again, he is a piece the Flyers already have in the house and is getting ready to go. Of course, there's been a lot of talk over the last couple of years about the two guys the Flyers have in London of the Ontario Hockey League, and Oliver Bonk and Denver Barkey, and they are both ready to turn pro now. Their season is still going on. They just swept Owen Sound in the first round of the Ontario Hockey League playoffs. They're going to take on Erie in the second round, and both of them are having terrific runs here over the course of this season. Denver Barkey again has come out and been a dominant figure. He's had 47 points in his last 23 games through the end of the regular season for London, and again, a piece that the Flyers already have. They've been following him for a couple of years now. They know what he brings to a team, and really ready to perhaps welcome him into the fold. And again, by welcoming these guys in, not to say that they're going to get NHL spots next year. It's certainly not a lock. A lot of it has to do with what the Flyers might add in the offseason. But, they have a good talent base here of guys that could be ready to contribute at the NHL level sooner rather than later. Oliver Bonk, of course, a defenseman. He is certainly looked at for a whole lot of things, but he did have 40 points this past year. Just learning to play the game as well as he possibly can in that level before he comes up to the pro level. And he's probably going to need some time in Lehigh Valley because most defensemen do. It's a very hard position to learn to play at the NHL level, and he's got to go from playing against mostly teenagers to playing against grown men. Again, that's the biggest switch for a lot of these guys, whether they're coming out of college or coming out of juniors, is it's no longer youth hockey. It is full out grown up hockey. So they've got to come out and kind of get used to that sort of thing. But those guys are ready to go. And then you've got some pieces already with the Lehigh Valley Phantoms this year, and one of them, a very intriguing guy the Flyers got back in the Scott Lawton trade, is Nikita Grabenkin, who has been with the Phantoms since he came over from the Toronto Maple Leafs organization in that deal. 47 games, 12 goals, 14 assists, 26 points so far on this season. And, Grabenkin, by all reports, has looked very impressive so far in his time in Lehigh Valley. So the Flyers are certainly hoping that he is going to be developing into somebody that can contribute here pretty soon. Danny Briere talked a little bit about it in some of the interviews he's done as of late, and that by making a move like that, and which the Flyers did get a draft pick back, but also getting a prospect, you've got a guy that's a little bit more of a higher percentage bet. He's a little bit more, I don't want to really call it a sure thing, but his odds of getting to the NHL are higher than, perhaps somebody you're going to draft right out of the draft. When you get these guys a little bit older, you've seen what they can do. You have a little bit of a better idea of them being able to come in and chip in at the NHL level. So, that's what they were looking at when they picked up Grabenkin. And again, certainly hoping that he is going to help pay off here down the line. And then, of course, the goaltending situation is going to be a big question mark for the Flyers this year. They have lots of decisions to make on how they are going to approach the short term here, but the long term is going to include a couple of guys that are coming again sooner rather than later. For some, Carson Bjarnason will be ready to go pro here as he comes out of Brandon. His season is done there. They were defeated in 5 games by Lethbridge in the first round of the WHL playoffs. So he is a 2023 draft pick, is going to be ready to come into the pro game, whether he comes again through the American Hockey League first. That's probably the likely spot for him, again, unless somebody comes out and really bangs the doors off and to get to the NHL level. You're usually going to see him starting in the AHL. So he's part of the plans. And then the Flyers have another Russian coming at some point. Yegor Zavragin is in the KHL with St. Petersburg. Their season also done. And so, we'll see what happens there. Again, we've seen over the last several years that it's kind of hard to predict sometimes what's going to happen with guys coming over from that part of the world. But all indications are that he is perhaps a very exciting prospect for the future here for the Flyers in net. And again, there's going to be a lot to discuss over the course of the summer is how they're going to approach the short term and who they want to be forming the NHL tandem next year. Given the nature of the contracts, likely going to be with Sam Ersson, but you never know. We'll see where things go. It's going to be a very interesting summer in that regard. So again, just to look real quick at some of the things that the Flyers have coming, and those aren't all the names. We don't really have time to go through every single name the Flyers have out there, but it's over a dozen guys at various levels of the game, either in major, junior in Canada, in the college ranks, in the American junior ranks. Flyers have a couple of guys playing there, and then they've got some guys coming in from overseas as well. So there is a lot in the cupboard. It's fairly well stocked right now. Flyers are certainly going to be adding to that this summer, but also going to be perhaps using some of this capital they've built up to bring in some guys that can help right now. So that is why this offseason is so exciting. And some of it will, again, probably involve these guys that are already part of the organization. So we'll keep an eye out on things on Saturday. We'll see how Alex Bump does against with Western Michigan in that championship game. And of course, the Flyers will be in action in the afternoon against the New York Islanders. So that'll be their next action coming up on Saturday. Tickets are available at PhiladelphiaFlyers.com for the final two home games, Saturday and Tuesday of next week here in this 2024-2025 season. Love to have you join us tomorrow with the radio broadcast. Timmy and Fridge will have it for you on 97.5 The Fanatic. Again, a 12:30 puck drop. So we'll have a 12 noon pregame show for you on Saturday. And then Jason Myrtetus will be back with you on Monday with Bill Meltzer. As always, Mondays with Meltzer coming up to start the week for you as the Flyers head into, again, the final week of the NHL season coming up next week. So we hope you enjoy all the action this weekend. We thank you for listening here on this episode of Flyers Daily. Again, I'm Brian Smith filling in for Jason Myrtetus here today. And again, great weekend for you, and we'll talk to you on Monday.